this is going to be one of those videos where I can kind of already predict the kind of comments I'm going to get because of my preference and what I'm proposing for Star Wars Battlefront 2. So instead of complaining about it, I'm going to hop out in front of it and make something very clear. What I'm about to say is purely based on my experience and my quote-unquote research, if you call playing games and experiencing them and learning about them research. And I doubt all of you are going to 100% share my preference and my ideals, or even have something close to my experiences. And what I'm about to say will sound like to some people that I just want Battlefront 2 to be easier, but I encourage you to watch all the way through the video and understand that that's not what I want. I do not want Battlefront 2 to be easier or more casual. I think it already is a very casual game. There is just something about the gunplay and the combat I've noticed over these 2 days of the beta that I have to mention because I've noticed it in other games, and I want to bring it up before this beta is over. So a minute into this video, I hope you guys understand that this is not a make Battlefront 2 easier video. And also for this video, I have a script, so I'm going to start reading it here. Not a lot of my videos have a script, but I'm going to start doing it more recently because my videos, I think, are a little bit too messy. If that's one thing I don't like about my videos, it's that they're a little messy, so I'm going to start here with my script. Okay, so my biggest problem with Star Wars Battlefront 2 right now is its gunplay and combat. As much fun as it is, and as much as it doesn't ruin the game, it's showing signs of something I do not like in first-person shooters. And that is when a first-person shooter has a long time to kill. Players have a lot of health, and weapons are unintuitive and difficult to use. This problem goes beyond player preference because of the nature of FPS players, because FPS players lean towards the weapons that deal the most damage per second, which in a short time to kill game, the slower killing weapons are still going to be killing fast just because of the nature of the time to kill. An example of that is Infinite Warfare, Rainbow Six Siege, Call of Duty Ghosts, CSGO, and Battlefield 4, where in those games even the guns that don't kill very fast are still killing very fast, you know what I mean? They might not be the statistical best, but they're still going to kill you within a small handful of frames, whereas I believe in long time to kill games the faster killing weapons become more overpowered compared to short time to kill games because every shot counts in longer time to kill games. As soon as that time to kill gets longer, every shot matters. So if you have all the guns being 7-shot kills, for instance, and then there's one gun that gets 6-shot kills, that gun is going to be way more useful in a longer time to kill game than a gun that takes one less shot to kill in a fast time to kill game. So let me recap that. A game with a fast time to kill with bad weapons isn't as big of a deal because people are already going to be dying very quickly no matter what. Guns can only get a couple of more frames advantage or one shot more advantage, whereas games with a long time to kill, that one shot advantage means a lot more. No, don't get this confused at all because there are games with longer time to kills that I enjoy, such as Halo and Doom. And when I say Halo, I mean like 1 through 3 and yes, kind of 4 and definitely Reach. And when I say Doom, the 2016 version, obviously. Those games give players powerful weapons that I think balance extremely well. And that's something that I don't think games like Destiny 2 or Star Wars Battlefront 2 does very well at all. And like I said earlier, I don't want Battlefront 2 to be easier. That's not what I want. Games don't have to make killing players too easy. But here's the thing, it can't feel like a chore. And you know, DICE realized this with Battlefield 1, and are currently working on an update to make gameplay more consistent and intuitive, more in line with Battlefield 4, and that is because of player feedback. So basically when I was talking about how I didn't like Battlefield 1's gunplay, and I thought all the weapons were shit, and I thought the time to kill was too long for how bad the weapons were, and I got laughed at and got called a COD fanboy, DICE is now working to make the guns kill faster and more consistently because of player feedback. And it's not because the game's going to get easier, it's just the game can't feel like a chore. It can't be unintuitive. You can't have players with a good chunk of health and then have to fight them with weapons that do shit damage, that have shit range, and I'm going to get into that more in a second. Because some negative weapon characteristics such as low damage or damage per second, spread, kick, sway, bad long range damage, slow rate of fire, a lot of flinch, or low capacity are fine. But unless too many of those negative traits are stacked on top of each other. So you can have guns that spread a lot, but if they also kick and then they do bad damage and then you flinch a lot when you get shot and there's a lot of idle sway on the sights, you just have a gun that feels like a chore to use. And you get games that rely maybe too heavily on aim assist or require you to have to use a mouse and keyboard and get the PC version because controlling it one way or the other is just too strange. If you stack those negative weapon characteristics with players that have a lot of health or varying amounts of health, such as in Battlefront where you have the heavy troopers which take more damage, and then you have the specialty troopers like super battle droids and rocket troopers that have a little bit more health. When you stack those things in Battlefront 2, the bad weapons, and I do think the weapons in Battlefront 2 are bad, I just don't feel like they're accurate enough, they have a fast enough fire rate, or they do enough damage. When you have that stacked with the player health, it feels like a chore. And again, games that are hard and are difficult to learn, like Halo and Doom, which are very difficult to master games, that's fine. I like that. What I don't like is a game that feels like an inconsistent chore. Destiny 2's Crucible, Destiny 1's Crucible, Battlefield 1, so on and such forth. So, certain weapons rise to the top in these types of games, and with Battlefront 2 I noticed the sniper rifles being used a lot more than I thought there would be, and there were even some YouTube videos that I saw saying the Specialist, the sniper class in Battlefront 2, was the best class to use, and I know why. Because the sniper class is dealing more damage. Like I said earlier, players will lean towards the guns that deal the most damage per second. So instead of each weapon and each class having its own role, and in Battlefront 2 it does to a really good extent, it feels like people are going to just use whatever makes killing less of a chore, similar to the problem Battlefield 1 had with snipers and medics. The medic rifles and the snipers were inarguably the most consistent killing weapons in the game. And you had people running the medic class that didn't want to revive anybody because they just wanted those rifles because they dealt the most amount of consistent damage. And I feel like that's what's going to happen with Battlefront 2 if it keeps up this trend of inaccurate spray weapons that do very little damage. Now right here, I'm going to show you another thing. This is the MTT gameplay. I used 400 of my battle points, which is not that much, and I hopped into the MTT to control the front turrets. And as you can see in these clips I'm showing, these explosions are a great example, or they work as a great example for my point. In the way gunplay and general combat is handled, nothing seems to be doing enough damage. Most things seem underpowered. The visual impact of these explosions are great, but they're doing very, very little damage. I have to hit players dead on to kill them, which I don't honestly think should be happening when on screen they're making a ton of explosions that don't seem to be doing that much damage. So it's like the visual of the explosions does not line up with how much damage and splash damage these are actually dealing. And I feel like Battlefront 1 actually handled that better with the AT-AT gunner, with the blast radius and the explosions there. What it looked like lined up with what it was doing. If these turrets were just firing lasers and they didn't actually create giant explosions when they hit, I'd be fine. But getting 6-7 hit markers on one guy because the splash damage does nothing is just kind of a decent example of how the game feels in general. Grenade launchers, thermal detonators, wrist rockets, certain things just feel like, oh, that was one more meter away from me than it should have, it does 0 damage. And then in Starfighter Assault, I found myself using the bombers to take out starfighters because they seem to be dealing the most damage per shot. I had the same mentality when using the sniper rifles, which is that, oh wow, well this seems to do more damage, might as well use this. And that's the mentality people are going to have in this game. That's what happened to Destiny 2's Crucible already. People figured out that the Media multi-tool is amazing and has a great DPS and drops people really quickly. And in a long time to kill game, anything you can use that drops people in a shot less, you're gonna want to use it. And so when playing Starfighter Assault here in Battlefront 2, I found myself using the Y-Wing and the TIE Bomber so that I could just deal the most amount of damage possible. And again, just gravitating to whatever makes the game feel like less of a chore when it comes to eliminating enemies. Everything seems to have a lot of health and all of the weapons seem to be really underpowered. So my idea, my proposal for Battlefront 2 is simple. Make the weapons more intuitive and powerful, or lower the player/starfighter health across the board. So if you're gonna have players with a decent amount of health and they're gonna take a while to get knocked down, buff the guns across the board. Increase the damage, increase the accuracy, increase the range. Make things more intuitive, not easier. Do not just make the game easy like the first Battlefront, just make things not feel like a chore. Make things more intuitive. And then of course the second option, is to lower the health, because I have nothing wrong with hard to use weapons. It's just when I actually start hitting opponents dead on with these weapons, I want those opponents to die. That's why I like the idea of playing Battlefield 1 in hardcore mode. All of these weapons are unintuitive, they don't have a lot of ammo, they're World War I weapons, they're just not very intuitive in the way they operate, and they take too long to kill. I'm okay with having guns that spread a lot, take a while to reload, don't have that much ammo, they sway a ton, they flinch a ton, unless I have to land 5 consecutive shots or 3 consecutive shots out of my gun that only has 5 rounds. So increase the intuitiveness and the usefulness of weapons, or decrease player health and starfighter health. And much like those negative functions of guns like I said earlier, like low damage, spread, kick, and sway, you don't want to stack all of those together. So don't lower the player health and make the weapons more intuitive and just have it be a twitch shooter. Just find a balance, because right now I feel like the game is out of balance in the way combat works. It's fun, it's enjoyable, and I'm gonna go play it more right when I'm done recording this. It's a fun game. I don't want it easier, I don't want it completely changed, but one side definitely needs to be tweaked. And again, none of this is to say the game should be easier, because games like Rainbow Six Siege or Counter-Strike Go or Battlefield 4, I consider those to be fast time to kill games. Do any of you guys consider those games to just be easy? Because in Rainbow Six Siege, yeah, you die quickly, but you kill quickly, and the guns are not like Call of Duty Battlefield level intuitive. And then in Counter-Strike, the guns are incredibly unintuitive, but it is an extremely fast time to kill, requiring you to master your weapon and control it under all circumstances to kill people quickly. Otherwise, you'll drop 20 bullets and then die. And then Infinite Warfare is a good example, because the reason I believe, and most players believe, that the variants are not overpowered is even if you have a variant that does a little bit more damage at range, everything is doing a ton of damage. Everything kills quickly. Every weapon has low recoil, relatively high rate of fire, or just damage output. So when all your guns are easy and intuitive, it's kind of hard to have one rise to the top, except by like a fraction or a percentage or by a number. Whereas in longer time to kill games, those changes are way more drastic, they're way more noticeable. But of course, both types of games can have underpowered and overpowered weapons. They can both have guns that are just completely unbalanced. So to summarize this whole video, weapons and things need to be better, or player health needs to be lower. Whatever DICE can figure out, or maybe a little bit of both in different areas. Maybe lower the health of the heavy class and increase the rate of fire on some guns, but then like decrease the spread. I don't know. Things are probably even more complicated than I just pointed out, and I hope you guys share your opinions down in the comment section below. I'm sure a lot of you guys are going to disagree with me. I'm sure I'm going to get called a casual or something. But that's fine, I totally expected that. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you guys like videos that have a script. This video is still kind of messy, but I feel like the point was concise, hopefully. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you when I see you. Goodbye.